Good day, you beautiful people. My name is Bizzle, this is TeaN'BizzKits, and thank you very much for tuning in to my new episode. In the previous episode, we took this on the rolling road, so if you don't know where we are with that, make sure you take a look at the previous episodes, because on this week's episode, we're picking up on all the bits that Troy said weren't right and all of the other lingering issues which my car has got. So please also hit that subscribe button. Then grab a tea and a biscuit and welcome to this week's episode of TeaN'BizzKits.
A new chapter here. I'm even dragging all the boxes out from underneath my workbench, cleaning them all out, checking what's in there, and finding old acquaintances like this bad boy. Look at the side of him. I mean, we're in the UK, so we don't get big spiders, poisonous spiders. I think we get something called the false widow, which is meant to be like a bee sting. But yeah, that's a big old Boris, isn't it? Look at the side of that bad boy. Oosh. Yeah, I think we call him a house spider. I also get to discover new boxes of nuts and bolts. Now, some of these, it's a bit worrying because I think a lot of these I've collated from various previous cars and jobs and things where I'm like, oh, leftover bolt. I don't know where that one went. Oh, well, I'll just put it in the box. No, I mean, these are imperial to metric changes, which I changed some of these. On the Raw Striker JPSC cars, they have imperial bushes, but they always put M12 metric in, so I did a conversion from the metric M12 to the imperial, so that's why I've got these bolts left over. So here's a quick little one. I'm going to show you how I tie down my trailer. So obviously I have the front hook on. This comes down just above, over halfway, the strap. And obviously the back of the strap goes round the top, should be about the same height. Doesn't contact the wishbones or anything else. You don't want it too low because then it goes over the thickness of the wheel and therefore can drop down. And you don't want it just sitting on the top, because if the wheel does roll, then it will just ping off. Clamp down onto the trailer here, and then a couple of half hitches just to take up the slack. These are a bit stiff now. They can do some GT85, I think. Simple as that, right? So this is what my garage should look like when it's tidy. We've still got bits and bobs that need to go through. This is a bit of a sty up here, so this is a next thing to attack. But look at this, got a workbench. Workbench. All of this is hoses, water, intercooler, oil, Rotrex, fuel, everything left over from the work. Pressure lines as well, Rotrex bits, various tubes that I've had left over from all the modifications I've done on that red Striker. And then I've got a whole bunch of box of bits to sell as well. So all of that needs to be sold. But yeah, for now, look at all this space. Got loads of space. Next job for me then is tidying up this whiteboard, because we need to work out what I'm doing. This is general scribblings that I've done. So one of the things you need to do is to subscribe. Something tells me that this has been on here a long time. That's not coming off, that's brake and clutch cleaner. I need some stronger cleaning chemicals. Alright, so I've just gone to the house to grab some bits, some sugar soap for decorating because polish didn't work. I do have some nail varnish remover, so I can try that. It looks like to me the winner is sugar water on one of these brushes, because you can see here I've tried it and squeaky clean.
Okay, so there's a fair amount to do on this to-do list. All of this is coming really from the rolling road and other observations that I've made along the road. Now, top of the list, the first thing is actually for you to make sure you subscribe and watch all of my previous videos. That would be very nice, thank you very much. I need to check the speedo because it's not working. I need to refit the rear diffuser because it's not on. I would really like a half tonneau cover because it's going to help with aero on track days. I don't like the boost gauge where it is, and I've got some silly twiddly dial that's on the dash. So I'm going to move the boost gauge and put it where the twiddly dial is. I need to clean the car, obvious really. I need to fit the front grille because I removed it to help with the airflow on the rolling road. I need to check the supercharger mounting because it's sitting wonky, something Troy said on the rolling road. I also need to check the fuel line because it's not very well placed. It was a temporary fix, and if I'm doing a track day, it needs to be done properly. The passenger transmission tunnel panel is not placed properly. It's all wafty and needs to be pop riveted back in. The steering wheel isn't straight when the wheels are straight, and there's a knock on the steering column. The ECU is not mounted, it's just cable tied down. I need to remove the fuel pressure regulator analog dial because otherwise they break. And Troy said there was something funny going on at the back end which I need to check. So I need to make sure that there's no cracks or damage or problems with anything at the back end. Wishbones, mounts, drive shaft, suspension, it all needs to be looked at. Right, so I want to crack on with this list now. So I think the first thing to do is probably take the nose cone off. Then I can fit the grille, get access to where the supercharger is, steering rack, all that jazz. Now I would normally jack the car up, put it on axle stands because it's just easier to be off the ground a little bit. But I think I'm going to keep it on its wheels as much as I can this time and just move it around as I need to, because especially when I get to the back end, with the back end moving around, I want as much space as I can. So I'm going to have to shift it back to get to the front and then move it forwards to get to the back. Problems with a small garage, unfortunately. But yeah, start at the front, get the nose cone off and tick off some of them easy jobs. So the grille on this is fitted really easily. It's just dropped in place and then cable ties used to hold it in place permanently. That's not me cutting corners, that's the way the factory did it. I'm just doing it OEM. So now that that's off, there's a couple of jobs I need to get to. I need to get down here to where the supercharger is and the steering rack, which is running down here as well. So I need to get down to the mount, which is down this way somewhere, just there on that bolt. So I'm going to probably just take off these pipes if I'm honest. So taking a look at this, do we think this is the belt? It's obviously not quite sitting straight, is it? We use this seam here on the supercharger as guidance. Do we think that's not quite sitting square? Doesn't quite look like it, does it? What about this bit here? Doesn't quite look right, does it? We need to have a look at that. And then obviously we've got the steering column here as well to look at. Please don't stay so far. This looks like it is sitting off. There's a very slight ridge here, and then this side is pretty flush. There's really can't feel anything at all here. This side, definitely, there's a ridge to it. So the supercharger is sitting further in that side, so it's twisted, which is what we could see before. Let me down, let me down. So with the supercharger off and out the way, it's time to get my fingers involved and see what I can feel. Now, as you can see here, it looks quite strange. There's like an insert that's inside this aluminium plate, and it seems like it's just kind of pulled through. Now, if I'm honest, that's possibly my fault, because I took out the countersunk screws and I added some others just because they were stripped. This ain't good enough. So I'm just using a homemade winding tool to wind this insert back in, and then I'm going to have to find some countersunk screws to put back in their place. These are going to spread the load and make sure that it doesn't pull through again. Having a rummage, I managed to find 2 good countersunk screws, so they went back in. Now it's all tight. Feeling against the left and the right hand side of the charger, I can feel there's no longer a step or any difference from one side to the other. And taking a look at this line here, this is looking nice and square, where before it kicked off at an angle, now it's not. And the belt is looking square too.
So this is the analog fuel pressure gauge, which we can't have on because apparently these rattle apart and then they start leaking. So next thing to do is just take this off and then Cytec supply the blanking bolt to go in. So that's a really quick 2-minute job. Unbolt and rebolt. So this is where the steering wheel sits when the wheels are straight. How do I know that? Because I reversed it in straight and I remember it kicking kind of over in about this orientation. So I'm going to straighten that up. I'm going to do that first. I'm going to see if I can do it on this knuckle here. And then the movement, if I move the steering wheel, it's coming from here. I don't want to turn this too much and rotate it round yet, because obviously it's set for me to straighten this up. So I'll straighten it up on this knuckle and then we're going to take a look at this. Just remembering to, when I last was in this area, trying to shuffle this steering column around wasn't easy. So I think I'm going to have issues. But can't have wonky steering, can we? Just doesn't poke through enough. It's still inside there somewhere. I just can't rotate that. So because it's hitting here, I need to move this whole shaft all the way down there somewhere. I need to undo that bolt now.
I need change to make it right. Please don't say it's over. Please don't say it's over.
Little diggle. Yes, sir.
So on this particular car, it looks like you've got this clamp, which doesn't really do too much. It just sturdies up this plate. But then you've got this gigantic grub screw and locking nut here. I think that probably just needs to tighten up. That's the one. So far so good, starting to make progress through some of these bits. I'm going to move the car more central now into the garage so I can work on both sides, front and rear at the same time. But I'm going to see what's going on with the speedo, see if some of the magnets have fallen off, and if so, see if I can purchase some more and put them on. Fit rear diffuser, that's probably going to be one of the last jobs I do, to be honest, but it's easier to do with the car jacked up. So one of the things that I've added is I think there is a crack on the near side front wheel arch because it's a bit wobbly. So I just need to check that, and I've got a feeling that's going to have to come off and get welded. And if that is the case, that's the second time that's happened, which means that probably it's been work hardened through the welding, snapped, re-welded, work hardened, snapped, which means I'm going to have trouble, I think, getting that repaired. So I need to get that off and to a repair shop because I can't weld. And we need to see what's going on with this. This is high priority. What is going on at the rear end? I'm a bit worried that again, possibly something is broken, and I can't be going on a track day with like a wishbone mount that's got a crack in it. So I do definitely need to get this in the middle, jacked up, and see what's going on at the rear end. That is top of my list of stuff to do. So luckily these cars are quite light, but basically that's where I have this double 25mm box. Is where I jack the car up centrally. Just prop the axle stands over that way. Sometimes I put them further forward, but generally in that area is good enough for me. Car doesn't weigh a huge amount, so 2 axle stands is perfectly fine. So I've got both wheels off now and I'm just having a quick look. I'm using this screwdriver here to try and just wedge it in. I don't have much space, so I appreciate this is zoomed in quite a long way, but I can't see anything that's loose. All the bolts are done up tight and I've stuck the screwdriver in a load of places, giving it a good wedgie around. You can see all this sort of stuff is tight because a lot of it's already got tightening marks on it. So yeah, I can't really see any kind of culprit of stuff that's loose. There is some movement in some of these bushes, that goes without saying, right? But you know, all the rest of this, apart from being extremely rusty, is okay. Definitely need to get these wishbones off at maybe at some point and repowder coated, etc. But obviously the main thing to do at the moment is to be, you know, using the car. But same on the other side as well, can't really see anything. Well, I'm glad that there's nothing broken, but it has made me aware of how much rust there is on this car. So the main thing for me is this one down here. This joint here is susceptible on the strikers to break because this is the lower wishbone. It's only actually welded on this side really. It's welded across and down, but it tears this box section, and I think it normally does it underneath, but there doesn't seem to be any damage on this. If you're in the UK, you know that it's actually been snowing early January. Look how much condensation there is, although this car's in a garage. This car is dripping wet with condensation, which really doesn't help my rust situation. You can see that repair there, look. So that's quite often what happens. Someone's put some snot over that to try and weld it up. I don't think it's coming from there. I've given it a good wobble and a good inspection. I think that's okay. All the diff and everything is all tight as well. All the brackets and stuff are secure. So as I say, other than being rusty, it's actually it's all tight and fine. So I think I'm just going to stick it on track, send it. Just isolated this top wishbone here, so it's just sitting on these bushes. Suspension is off, and it's off of the rear upright. So I'm going to put this through. What I'm looking for when I use some leverage on here is obviously there's movement in the bush. That's to be expected, but I can't see any movement forward and backwards there at all. So I'm happy with that. So it's a bit tight down here, so sorry for the poor videoing, but isolated the bottom wishbone now from the rear upright, and just with a bar in just to give it some leverage to get the bushes moving. This is my point of worry. For example, if I nothing happening there at all. This one over this side's good as well. So again, apart from the rust, everything feels like it's tight and not moving. So I've already taken the top wishbone off, checked that. I'm really happy that I think these are all okay. Bottom wishbone's now off. Oh, they've done that monkey tight. So I've just got a leverage bar. I've actually just used the bottom pivot bolt. Taking that bolt out over there, just to make sure I'm isolating this one, which again on strikers are the thing that I'm worried about. Giving this a good bit of leverage. Good to me. Everything's tight. Everything's super tight. Tight! In terms of bolts, mounts and everything. Tight, yeah! If there's any problems, I think it's actually that maybe the bushes, in particular maybe that bush just feels a little bit weaker than the others. And maybe that could be where there's a little bit of excess movement coming from. Obviously the car is an 09 plate, so you know it's 15 years old. When I very first got the car it had mould and stuff on it, and we can tell that it's pretty minging, isn't it? So potentially I wonder if one of them rubbers is perished, but certainly not going to fall apart. I don't think that's going to cause me trouble on track. Hopefully I'm not going to notice it too much. So I'm just going to stick it all back together, and then we can go check the to-do board and see how we're getting on. So this is not an easy job getting this off, because what I need to do is undo this wheel and then try and undo the bolt that's on top of the upright and drop down out the way, I take it. Might have to undo this. What's this? 2/17s, isn't it? 2/19s. Who would have thought? The socket in this too big. That's feel right. Be the problem. Looks like it has been welded there before. That needs a bit of weld all the way around there, doesn't it? Not much meat leaving that on at all. One of the many nice bits that this car come with are these race leader hubs, aluminium race leader uprights, and the race leader R16 calipers. These apparently are prone to breaking here on heavier cars, but apparently on kit cars and lighter weight kit cars like mine it's okay. And I know that R16 non-radial mount is not the best type of caliper. It was quite difficult to actually find brake pads for these. Seem to be doing really well. Relatively large discs on here. You don't need anything too much really for these light cars, but yeah, race leader aluminium, race leader aluminium, race leader aluminium, just gets all of your unsprung weight down, which is quite important on these cars. I do apologise for interrupting your viewing of this superb episode this week, but I just want to say that I'm driving back from picking up my wheel arch mount for the front left of my car. I picked it up from a company called Metal Prefabrications Limited, a superb little old school working engineering company where they just make anything and everything to do with metal. And Tim there very kindly looked after me. I dropped off the mount and said, "Please Tim, can you weld this up?" And of course he did, no troubles at all. Left it with him, just picked it up, superb bit of welding, and they've got loads and loads of bits of machinery there that can pretty much bend, fold, weld, do anything that you need them to do. So a big shout out to Metal Prefabrications Limited in Dartford. If you need any metal fabrication work done, do consider them guys, they're very helpful. Okay, so the arch is back on, everything's tightened back up. Now there was a bit of a fix which I had to do. I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you want to know, come find me at Snetterton or another track day. Or if you see me at a show, I'll be at Kitfest for example. And as many other shows as I can get to this year. Come and have a look at my driver's side front wheel arch and see what I've had to do to fix it. Another one bites the list. Alrighty, so I'm cracking on with the list. I can't do the speedo sensor magnets because although I've bought some new magnets, looking on a forum, someone suggested about drilling a hole, a little 6mm by 2 or 6mm by 3 hole, and then seating the magnet in there. I like that because I lost a previous magnet which I put on. Doesn't mean you got a sharp drill bit though to be able to do it. So 25 to 11 at night, guess what? Nothing's open, so I can't go get some drill bits. So I'll park that one for now. So I took the seat out because the next thing to do is the side transmission tunnel. Right little gem. Check this out. This is a nice little find. So I pulled the seat out and random screw, and another one of these hex bit holders on a, what's that, a quarter drive ratchet. I think these are always nice to have handy. So the reason I've taken this out is because I need to screw this back in, but also I need to secure the rubber hose, which is currently just around here. So, you know, this isn't great. It can't really stay like that for a track day. It was okay for the rolling road because there's not much stress going through the chassis, etc., you know, going around corners where it's only a couple of hours of running or something, bumbling up and down rumble strips. We can't have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill all these out, take this off and take this out. And then that's going to allow me to get the old fuel line out, hopefully, and hopefully also then tie this up a little bit better. Ultimately, it'll all have to come back out again. I'm not going to keep the rubber hose in, obviously. Another day, I'll have to run a copper line from... That's the dead one there. Where's the rubber one coming up? The rubber one coming up is down there somewhere. I can't remember where I put it. But it's obviously coming up because it's going to the fuel rail. So I'll run another copper line up and just rubber hose that piece there. And then copper line all the way from the engine bay, all the way down, all the way to the back. But for now, I'm going to try and take out this one. Peeling this side panel off, there is a lot more work to do. It's dirty, it's grimy, and it's going to be a bit of effort to get these fuel lines sorted. So I think I'm going to park it there. If you haven't, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. I'll be hopefully at Kitfest in April. Make sure you come along to Santa Pod as well, and I'll see you there. My name's been Bizzle, this is TeaN'BizzKits, and I'll see you again soon.